You want to hear a story about how a pool, a stone porch, and a retired realtor nearly drove me out of my mind? Let's get something straight. I never set out to be the guy who took down an HOA. But here I am, sipping coffee by the same pool they tried to steal, and you're about to find out why I'm still standing while Karen and her badge-wielding husband, well, they're not. First things first, the day her husband, Officer Langford, badge shining and ego even brighter, showed up at my door, I thought, sure, hand over the pool keys. That was the opener. Not a question, not a hello, just an order. Karen, arms crossed a few steps behind him, wore this smirk like she'd just called in an airstrike on my sanity. I glanced at the badge, back at her, and deadpanned. You really sent your husband for this. Didn't faze her. You've ignored 3 notices, she snapped. The pool belongs to the community. He clenched his jaw like he'd practiced in the mirror, loving every second of being her muscle. I kept my tone steady, told him, you might want to check who you're threatening. Because here's the thing, while they were trying to scare me, I was already investigating them. They just hadn't realized the tables were turning. The patrol car's lights faded off my water that night. My hands, steady. My heart, not so much. It's not every day your neighbor weaponizes her marriage to steal your pool keys. But this wasn't about the pool. It never is with people like her. This was about control, about making sure everyone in a 3-block radius knows who runs the show. Spoiler, it wasn't going to be her. Name's Cole. I moved back here last spring after Dad passed. House had been in the family since the 70s. He built it with his own 2 hands. Stone pool, cedar porch, everything carved out of sweat and a stubborn streak you could see from space. I came home to restore it, not to play HOA roulette. 6 weeks in, here comes the new board, new rules parade, and at the front, Karen Langford. Retired realtor. Self-appointed queen of property values. Karen didn't talk so much as she announced. Every sentence sounded like it should be printed on a glossy brochure. First notice came 2 days after the welcome meeting. Unapproved structure detected. Pool requires inspection. My dad's pool, the one she called a liability. I ignored it. Then came the fines. Then the letters. Then tonight, her husband, the badge, the whole parade. Here's what Karen didn't know. I've dealt with intimidation my whole life, at work, at home, in courtrooms and on construction sites. Intimidation is just another kind of paperwork, and I'm damn good with paperwork. The first real flashpoint? The night Karen tried to pull rank at the HOA meeting. She called out across the room, binder in hand, Mr. Cole, you have an unregistered water structure. There was laughter from the back, her crowd, her rules. It's a pool, I replied. Unregistered? She echoed, savoring the word. It's been here since, then it's definitely non-compliant. That's when it clicked. Karen wasn't worried about safety. She wanted power, and her husband was her enforcer. I'd see his cruiser out front late at night, headlights aimed at my mailbox. No ticket. No reason. Just presence. Just a warning. The kind of presence that says, we're watching. The first night I saw him, I didn't budge. I just cracked a beer on the porch and stared right back. He wanted to corner me. I wanted him to know I don't scare. After that, I started keeping records. Dates, photos, copies of every letter. Dad taught me construction. The bureau taught me documentation. Truth only matters if it's written down. Weeks blurred into a slow-motion invasion. Every time I walked outside, something new. A yellow notice on the gate, a drone buzzing overhead, a neighbor walking their dog and snapping photos. Karen called it vigilance. I called it stalking. One morning, I found her standing by the fence, clipboard in hand. You know that's trespassing, right? I said. She smiled, all teeth. Just verifying compliance. Can't have unauthorized pools drawing from the community supply. I almost laughed. My pool fed from the same spring Dad tapped 40 years ago. No community line, just groundwater and gravity. She had no clue. I dove into the HOA bylaws, the county plat maps, every ancient deed I could dig up. The spring? Not even in HOA territory. And guess what? An HOA can't touch a private pool fed by a natural source outside its recorded boundary. Doesn't stop people like her from trying. The next escalation? A letter, urgent. Inside, a $2,500 fine for illegal community water use. No warning. No hearing. Just a bill. I marched over to Karen's, found her trimming her roses like she was running for mayor. Is this a joke? I waved the paper. Rules are rules, she said. Payment details are on the back. I told her, I don't owe you a dime. She leaned in, lowered her voice. You think you're different because that pool was your daddy's? Around here, we do things by the book. Whose book? I asked. She smiled. Mine, and snapped her shears shut. That night, sitting by the pool with a flashlight, I read through every permit, every blueprint, every scrap of Dad's notes. For the first time, I got what he meant. Don't let anyone claim what you've built. It's not about fences or water. It's about standing your ground. So I fought back. I stacked my own paperwork, every letter, every notice, every photo of that drone. I wrote her a reply. You want paperwork? You'll get paperwork. I dropped it in her mailbox, walked home under the moonlight, and didn't look back. Then things got real weird. One morning, a drone hovered above the pool. I waved. It didn't leave. Next day, a neighbor with a telephoto lens. Documenting potential violations, he said, like it was a game. Then came the anonymous complaints, excessive splashing, unapproved gatherings, running a commercial facility. I don't even play music out here. Still, every letter triggered a hand-delivered visit from Officer Langford. Engine idling, lights off, just him and his blank stare. Karen's golf cart would be waiting at the corner, just out of sight. I tried to talk it out once. She was at the mailbox, pretending not to see me. Karen, can we just be reasonable? I asked. She didn't even look up. Talked to the board. Then she walked away. That's when I knew. This wasn't random. This was a campaign to grind me down, inch by inch. It had worked on others. One guy sold after a fine for leaving a hose on the lawn. Another for having too many guests. Karen wasn't enforcing rules. She was enforcing fear. So I watched. When the drone showed up, I filmed it. When her husband delivered a letter, I logged the time and date. Patient. Relentless. The twist. One late night, I was combing through HOA financials, public, but no one looks. There it was, a pool maintenance fund, thousands of dollars marked as operational costs, but no contractors, no permits, just a signature. Officer Langford. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about power. It was about money. I closed the file and said out loud, you messed with the wrong man. Once you see corruption, you can't unsee it. Neighbors whispered that their pool access cards didn't work. Some said Karen sold new passes, cash only, no receipts. The guest amenities line item had ballooned from $2,000 to $15,000 in 1 quarter. All the fees processed by Karen, all the signatures by Langford. I started building a case. Cameras, motion sensors, audio recorder in my pocket. Nothing dramatic, just enough to catch faces, voices, patterns. Then suddenly the visits stopped. No drones, no letters, just quiet, the kind that says we're planning something. Sure enough, next HOA meeting, Karen stood up, declared, officers can enforce community rules at any time. Her husband in the back, arms folded, uniform crisp. The message, we own this place. But the room felt different. Tense. When the meeting ended, I walked by and said, you're not as subtle as you think. She flashed that smile. You should really consider selling. These things get exhausting. I walked home and promised myself I wasn't leaving. Not now. But the pressure ramped up. Mail came half-opened. Trash cans knocked over at night. Violation notices taped to my truck, my name spelled out in angry orange marker. Unauthorized commercial vehicle. It was my work truck. They wanted me to explode, to lose credibility. Instead, I logged every incident, every notice. The pattern was clear. Anything I fixed, they found a new way to weaponize. But the real gut punch? Nobody acted like this was strange. Neighbors kept their heads down. Karen would fine one person for weeds, let another slide for months. The HOA was her kingdom, her husband the sword. One night, close to midnight, I saw his cruiser again, engine running. I walked to the gate, phone recording. He just sat there. 10 minutes, 15. Then he drove off slow. I checked my security footage. He hadn't moved. Just watched the pool. That night, resolve set in. I started matching his visits to his shift schedule, half weren't on duty. He was using his badge off the clock. That's not just unethical. That's illegal. I almost quit. Seriously. Looked at real estate listings one night. But then I stepped outside, looked at that pool, my dad's legacy, and remembered, you only lose what you hand over. I wasn't built to run. The final straw. A cease and desist letter taped to my door. Karen's latest power play, claiming my pool was community property. Signature at the bottom, Officer Langford, Community Enforcement Liaison. That's not a thing. That's intimidation on official letterhead. I called the county clerk. They laughed. No official complaints filed. That's just HOA drama. Translation: Karen was bluffing, using her husband's badge to back her lies. That night, I sorted every document, every drone photo, every piece of evidence. Labeled it HOA fraud. Then I called an old contact from my bureau days, Miller, Environmental Crimes. Told him about the federal easement, the falsified maps, the money. He said, "Send what you've got." Sometimes a whisper from the right person is all it takes to make corruption panic. A week later, I wasn't alone anymore. Linda, the treasurer, had her doubts. Tom Willis, retired city planner, knew the maps had been doctored. Karen had literally redrawn the HOA boundary to claim my spring. Together, we cross-checked records, uncovered fake businesses, dissolved insurance companies, shell contracts signed by Langford. Husband and wife laundering HOA money. Neighbors started noticing. Karen got desperate. Flyers on mailboxes with my photo. Community safety concern. Handwritten threats in my mailbox. Leave while you still can. All on HOA stationery. She'd gotten lazy. People who think they're untouchable always do. The big break? Their pool insurance company didn't exist, dissolved years ago. They'd been pocketing protection money. I sent everything to Miller and Linda. The pressure made Karen sloppy. She posted wild accusations on the HOA website, staged photos of my backyard as evidence. But neighbors started reaching out. One woman whispered, "I know what she's doing. I've seen the records." Someone else left a note, "Stay strong. She's unraveling." Meanwhile, every time Langford used his badge, I documented it. Federal code is crystal clear. Using public authority for private gain is a felony. Miller confirmed it. We're looking at serious charges. Then, out of nowhere, an emergency enforcement meeting. Karen's final performance. She set the stage, clubhouse, slideshow of violations, Langford by her side, envelope in hand. The plan? Humiliate me, collect the community's property, the pool keys, in front of everyone. But this time, I wasn't the only one recording. Miller's team was waiting outside in black SUVs, timing perfect. Federal agents strode in, badges flashing. The room froze. Miller's voice was low, steady. "Mrs. Langford, you are under investigation for misappropriation of funds, wire fraud, and obstruction of federal property rights." Langford tried to play cop. Agents shut him down quick. Karen sputtered, pointing at me. "He's behind this." Miller didn't even look up. "Ma'am, we have your signatures on 12 falsified invoices, 3 shell companies, and 1 expired insurance policy." When she finally realized who I was, not just a stubborn homeowner, but the reason they were there, her knees almost buckled. Neighbors watched, wide-eyed, some filming, some just stunned. As they led Karen and her husband out, the room finally exhaled. Years of fake power vanished in seconds. That night, I sat by the pool. The badge they used to threaten me sat in an evidence bag, small and powerless. Miller said, "You can finally rest." I wanted to believe him. I dipped my hand in the water. Pops always said water remembers the hands that built it. Tonight, that water had witnessed everything. Her lies, his abuse, my fight. The fallout? Karen was charged. Her husband was suspended. The HOA board resigned. The association dissolved. My pool, no longer a crime scene, just a pool again. Neighbors actually started talking, helping each other, laughing by the lake. The first clause to go. All water features subject to community oversight. The irony was sweet. Linda handed me a folder one morning. The neighborhood council wanted to rename the spring Langford Spring Preserve, after my dad. I built a wooden sign, planted a sunflower beneath it, my mom's favorite. Now every morning, the light hits the water, and I remember what freedom really feels like. Not loud, not showy, steady earned. Sometimes kids ask if I beat the HOA. I tell them, no son. I just reminded them who they work for. Simple truth, simple lesson. You know what sticks with me? After all that noise, all those threats, justice wasn't loud. It was patient. The water kept flowing. Karen's power turned to dust, but the spring outlasted her. Like Pops said, builders always win in the long run. So, have you ever watched someone abuse power just because they could? Ever seen a uniform or a rulebook used to control, not protect? I want to hear your stories. Drop your HOA horror stories, your thoughts on justice, or your experience with people like Karen in the comments. Let's see where the real lines should be drawn.